Hello and welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. I have with me the creative Matt the Pickled Dragon. And as always, I am Dracoya. And today we had a request from a viewer who wanted to hear more about Matt's campaign in where was it, Matt?
Thanatos, the
Oh,
abyss. Yes, it's a very daunting endeavor to run an adventure extra planar like, But this all springboarded from our video on the Hordes of the Abyss, a book from WotC from the 3.5 days, where we were discussing how great that book was. It is great. You should definitely check it out. But it's great. It provides ample content for a DM to build a very in-depth adventure that takes the party into the abyss and back again.
hmm.
Yes, it's very cool. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I'm just going to hit the highlights as we go to kind of give you, the viewer, the the idea of how I strung the events together. And it all launched out of one event, which was a party member being kidnapped and stolen away to Everlost, which is
Okay.
Orcus's seat of power in Thanatos. So there are innumerable events that took the party ages to even find a way to get to the abyss, which we're not going to go into, just to know that they did get to the abyss. But as a DM, I'm most excited uh, for the chance to take the party to the abyss because of all of the unusual mechanics and the ability to play with reality that a DM has when the party goes extra planar. And this is where a lot of the older edition books come into play because there was no, Tome of the Planes or Book of the Planes or anything like that released for 5e. So you could look back at the older books, you can see every plane has really weird mechanics. Maybe time flows faster there. So when you get back home, maybe only 5 minutes has passed and you've been gone for a year.
And if you're interested in learning more, you need to go ahead and click comment, like, subscribe, and you can gain access to some of our previous videos where we talk about these books.
Yes. Or if you want us to talk about a different book, we can
Oh, yeah.
always take your requests. But
Leave
in
a
any case,
request below.
yes, yes, good point. She keeps me honest. Stop from rambling. But there's all of these. One of the things about Thanatos are the strong necrotic energies that exist on Thanatos. It is Orcus's, domain after all. It's where undead thrive and the living wither on the vine, right?
Right.
So one of the features there that I came up with is that magical healing does not work in Thanatos. So that creates an enormous problem for the party that they have to overcome. So already they're scratching their head. And they're like, okay, what do we do now? We've got to
So
figure out.
healing potions work though, right?
No, they don't.
Oh.
There, no magical healing works.
Ooh,
But
okay.
as we'll find out in a minute, they figure out a way of overcoming. So,
Okay.
and if your group thinks of an outside of the box method of overcoming it, reward them by letting them have it. So all this
Yeah.
makes sense. But this as a backdrop, I think it's always important to bring D&D lore into your games because it creates a more immersive adventure if they feel like there are these events going on around them that may not even be part of the adventure, but it adds depth to everything that they do. So I plunged the party into Thanatos in the midst of the Caranthali Orcus War. So, we prepared some images to try to kind of help you along with this. Uh, the yeah, and there's our friend Orcus. He is our friend, by the
Ooh.
way. Friend
Creepy.
to all friend to all DMs only though.
Yeah,
So,
obviously.
and Carencelie is the drow goddess of undead. So she wanted to take excuse me. She wanted to take Thanatos for herself. This is an image from the City of the Spider Queen. That's actually the high priestess of Carancelie, but there aren't any really good images of Carancelie out there, so we're going with that. Welcome,
Yeah.
Carancelie, to the show. So we got these two guys duking it out. So there is a war raging on Thanatos when the party appears. Um, and again, that's just the backdrop. But what it does, it also allows for the use of more than just undead and demons. So the Underdark has arrived in Thanatos. So now you have drow, giants, all manner of Underdark creatures.
Plus,
Uh,
there's going to be a lot more like combat opportunities because there's this war going on, and your players are now in the middle of a war zone, right?
Yes. And there are also, I mean, there are also individuals caught up in this war, like drow who don't necessarily want to be there, but they have been kind of cajoled or bullied into the service of Carancelie, or giants, same thing. There are opportunities for role play, unlikely alliances, whatever the DM wants to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, but so the party, when you are dumped into the abyss, everybody starts out in the first layer of the abyss, and it's called Pezunia.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's called the layer or the plane of infinite portals, or I think it's also called like the closet or palace of 1,001 closets or something like that. But
And
in any case,
again, we go into more detail in this in one of our previous videos. Go on.
yes. Yeah, check it out. So this map came right out of Hordes of the Abyss. This is a snapshot of Pezunia where the Grand Abyss exists. And there are portals. Now, if you are in Thanatos or if you're in Demogorgon's lair, there are portals to other layers of the Abyss in those realms. They're just very few and hard to find. Pezunia has a portal to virtually every layer of the abyss. It's why it's called, the plane of infinite portals. There are portals, and again, you got to think of the abyss as this infinite place, right? There are infinite layers of the abyss, and while it's easy to imagine it being like cut up like a cake, layers of the cake, it is all at once. They're in sequential order and they're not. So you might say that layer 10 and 11 are right next to one another, but they simultaneously are next to one another and infinitely apart as well, because there may not be a portal from 10 to 11. It may be you have to go to 10 all the way down to 468. And,
So,
and
so
yeah,
is it like quantum physics for portals?
yes, it's theoretical quantum physics. Now you're gonna have to wrap your head around it. But
Yeah,
in any
okay. Have
case,
fun with that.
yeah, but in any case, the there's ways of getting around. The river Styx runs through a number of the portals, and it's gone. We go through that in another video, but here the party meet with a group of individuals known as the Dustmen, and think of like these post-apocalyptic guys who got like trench coats on and face scarves to protect them against all of the dust and the burning sun of Pezunia. So here's a quick shot of Pezunia from Hordes of the Abyss. You can see it's just a wasteland. But the Dustmen are mortals that serve celestials, and they kind of monitor the goings on in the abyss. So they're spies, if you will, and they report back to celestials on the goings ons of the blood war, and they try to help contain it to planes that are already shattered. Um, well, the Dustmen tell the party, "Hey, if you want to get to Thanatos, there's this iron fortress, and there are these iron fortresses dotted all over Pazunia, and some of them hold gates, some of them hold demons that are projecting into the material plane. Some of them, but in any case, they are fortresses meant to defend the ways through to other portals, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
I grabbed a map out of Hordes of the Abyss again. Great book. So the party had to raid this place and get into the astral projection chamber or the portal chamber, whichever one they decided. And from there, we're not going to go into. They fought a bunch of stuff, and you know, creatures died, and it was heroic and whatnot. But from there, they arrive in Thanatos.
Ooh,
And you
okay.
can see the X marks the spot. They arrive right next to Narratir in the frozen sea. It's this frozen city. And Narratir is under siege from Caranthali. Well, one of the things the Dustman told them is that there was a lich that fell out of favor with Orcus and was imprisoned in Narratir. And this lich has a magic item that allows healing to function in the abyss, or in Thanatos, that is. So they had to find this magic item or find the lich, and the party eventually traded the lich's freedom for the item. And
Ah.
yeah, so basically, whoever is attuned to the this magic item, which was kind of an unusual item, I decided to go with. Whoever is attuned to the item in a 10-foot radius around that person, healing would work.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So they
So
found a
basically,
clever solution.
yeah, so the item created this field that counteracted the necrotic energies. Um, so they release the lich and they recover the magic item, which was, well, here's Narrative here. I almost forgot. So this was just a map I plucked off the internet, and you should be able to do this too. You could easily see this is a frozen wasteland, and find a map that looks kind of fitting for that. So there are all these spires, and this could easily be envisioned as a just kind of a frozen port city that's locked by ice. Well,
Mm.
the party, they eventually navigated it and they found Chaos Rise, which is where the Lich was imprisoned. And I had maps and whatnot, of course, for them to storm the place. And well, it wasn't storm, it was more of an infiltration. But meanwhile, they're dodging armies and drow and giants and golems. There was an iron golem, and you know a huge variety of creatures, demons, undead. And it took them, and they have to explore the city to try to figure out where this guy's even held. They had to befriend some drow. It was quite an ordeal, and it was an entire urban setting, but it was kind of like a Stalingrad from World War II urban setting. So it was
Ooh.
a different experience for them.
So still really sketchy. You got to be real careful about who you talk to and where.
Yes, and not fumble into the midst of in the midst of giant combats where you
Yeah.
could easily be overrun. So there's the magic item that they found, a lucky cricket. So they had this little cage with a lucky cricket that they had to attune to and keep the cricket alive, feed it, greens and whatnot. So that was the magic item. That was kind of fun. Um, and from Narrative, then they make their way across the frozen sea. And I don't like to just have, oh, you've just encountered 9, Glabrazu and, just wandering monsters like that. What the party had to do, because this is the abyss, is they essentially shuttled themselves from ruins to rocky gorges, places where they could hide and hole up for a night to rest. And in this location, they find some ruins that aren't entirely abandoned. And from the creatures
Oh.
there, they learned that getting across the plains of hunger, would be impossible on foot for mortals. There are literal oceans of undead in the central and northern areas of the plains of hunger. And
Okay.
so you're not just going to walk through that.
No.
Luckily for
What did they do?
them, their DM was kind enough to put a crashed Illithid nautiloid right over here. So you can see the party went over. They liberated the nautiloid from plundering demons. And, to back up one, again, this was an entire ruins. The party spent several sessions here. It wasn't just like in and out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a simple encounter. Like to me, every encounter should be like a little mini adventure. Like there should be terrain and mini storylines, and especially in a place like the Abyss. Uh,
Yeah, no, for sure. There's so much stuff to do here.
yes. And from these folks, they also learned that in the southern in the southern parts of the Plains of Hunger here, you have Thanatos worms, which are huge undead purple worms. You have the giants and the Caranthely forces, undead, of course. So they really had to kind of hustle their way across to this nautiloid. So from the nautiloid, they learned that Vadrian, this city here,
Mm-hmm.
was had rebelled and become a free city. So it wasn't under the control of Orcus or Caranthely, and it was a
Interesting.
Baelor that rebelled. So they
Hmm.
decide, hey, let's go to Vadrian and maybe we can get some equipment. So they dart over to Vadrian using their new nautiloid that they repaired.
Uh-huh.
And I found this map on the internet. Vadrian is a city atop a giant rock, basically a giant boulder, right?
Mm.
So I thought this looked pretty close. And so I built some encounters around it. They were able to explore the city and they spent a few sessions here. It was quite a lot of fun. Again, be ready. And there are so many maps and whatnot on the internet you can grab. And this place is just choked with all the creatures of Thanatos that did not want to participate in the war against Caranthely or Orcus on behalf of either. So they got through there and they set off across the plains of hunger in their nautiloid. And this was an opportunity because aerial combat is not something that a lot of players get to do. So I had
Mm.
abyssal drakes and flying demons, and of course, then you have the complexity of like a 3-dimensional combat. But that was quite fun.
Has anyone else done air combat? I'm really interested to hear if any of our viewers have done aerial combat.
Yes, it has a special kind of difficulty to it, but if you pull it off right, it's a lot of fun. And we had a ton of fun with it because we actually have a nautiloid model and
Oh,
elevated it,
cool.
and flight bases for all the creatures, and they could go around. And but here they were able to circumvent all the oceans of undead, and they
Hmm.
reached the final hills. Now, if you read the Hordes of the Abyss, you know that the final hills are just a maze of caverns and they have both underground caverns and canyons, and think of the Grand Canyon on steroids, just an absolute maze of this. And there's this horrific storm, a miasma of purple and blacks that has settled above the final hills that made it impossible for the nautiloid just to fly over. It actually had to navigate its way through the maze of canyons and whatnot. And this is where I pulled out an old first edition module, the
Okay.
Throne of Bloodstone, which actually takes you to Thanatos.
Huh?
And yeah, so this is the maze through the final hills. The party tried to navigate it, and after several encounters, decided this is nuts. And they finally discovered that there was an underground way through to Everlost.
Hmm.
So they found the entrance to those caverns and plunged underground and evaded all of these encounters. It was like here is the entrance up here in the top of the map, and they got like through to this. And that's really all that they were able to explore before they finally were like, hell with this. We're going underground.
Yeah,
And I don't know if my mouse cursor shows up there when
it
it's
does. I
okay,
see
good.
it.
Well, that's all about all that they explored. And they plunged underground, they delved underground. And here again, I pulled out another first edition source
I like this part.
and I took this is from the Wilderness Survival Guide, or no, Dungeoneer Survival Guide from first edition. And it's a side view of caverns. And the party came in over here at the grotto. And I did a top down map of everything, but I really wanted a lot of vertical space. And so I had them, traversing all through all of this until this sinkhole is what came up under Everlost. And the distances were enormous. So it's the I think that they spent a week underground, maybe longer. But to this point,
Yeah. It looks huge. I mean, if anyone's ever explored caves and caverns before, you will know that they are much bigger than meets the eye. Everyone thinks that, oh, it's just going to be this little cave, but they tend to go on for a very long period of time and they can take a long time to explore.
yeah, and to this point, the party had taken an absolute beating. They had a few NPCs that had died up to this point. I've always put a lot of NPCs in my games. I have special rules for leveling them. They're always a bit behind the player characters, and a lot of them had died up to this point, just getting to here. And I think it's also important to note because, like I said, I want every step through to feel like you've earned it, and it's meaningful, and there's a story there. And so we're looking at about a half a year's worth of Sunday sessions.
Wow.
'Cause I think up to this point, it was like session 26, 25 when they got to this point. And
Yeah.
um, they spent another 5 sessions. Each session 6 hours long. And the characters themselves were taking a beating. They skipped so many rests, long rests. They would go like 48 hours without rest. They were always out of spells. They were always running out of their abilities, their features. And that should be the feeling of the abyss. You are pushed and taxed. Um, so this is where they came up at Oblivion's End and Everlost, Orcus's Orcus's stronghold. Now I am gonna not go any further because the party is there right now, and I can't really share about what is gonna befall them next.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear what's going to happen. If you guys are interested, comment, like, subscribe below, and let us know if you guys want to hear more about Matt's campaign. And every couple of months or so, when his party has made progress, we can make a video about it. Let us know.
Sure, we can. And we do also have a website, which is Adareth. The name of the campaign is Adareth. It's
Okay.
Adoraith, with a subtitle of Out of the Darkness. And
Ooh.
that I think we're on session like 99 or 100 now of that campaign. Again, every once a week on Sundays. We've missed a few here and there, but you could check out the website, and I think you can even like the website, and then I think you could get updates whenever I update it. I don't remember. But
Ooh.
in any case, yeah, we're gonna leave it there until next,
Comment, like, subscribe,
all that good stuff.
all the good stuff. And until next time, come back and have another round on us.
All right.